spending $3 billion a year fixed child poverty in terms of getting the measures down to the 6% level that Jacinda Ardern wanted in the long-term 2028 target for material hardship?
Well, I'll just say to you, the last government increased government spending by 84% and outcomes went backwards. If you think about the last year of the Labor government, I think there was 23,000 kids more that were actually put into poverty. And so when we came to government, what we saw was a target that clearly was off track and not going to be delivered. What you've seen from us is actually financial discipline and good economic management. You saw in the budget, your Treasury saying, I think we're going to lift 17,000 kids out of poverty by virtue of our budget decisions. Think about tax relief, think about family boost, think about all of those sorts of things. So, the bottom line is it's not just about spending money, it's actually about good economic management will make the biggest difference, and that's why we're so focused on the economy.
Can I get a clarification just on what you were talking about at your Bloomberg address on Friday in the Q&A session? You were talking about a referendum on a 4-year term. Is that something that we're going to see in the next election? New Zealanders will go to the polls to vote on a government, as well as this idea of a 4-year term, but just a change in the electoral environment?
Yeah, look, as you know, we've got coalition agreements with both National ACT, National New Zealand First. All three parties in the government actually support or have interest in a 4-year term being explored. We haven't started that work. As you know, we're being really disciplined about working through these quarterly action plans, and that's what we're focusing the government and our cabinet meetings around is driving towards those actions. So look, it is on our agenda. It's just not something that we've discussed at this point in time. It would be too premature, frankly, to say whether we're taking that out to the next election or not. But regardless, that will be a referendum decision, no doubt about it.
This policy is about productivity and performance in the public sector. It's not about saving Wellington cafes. Is that correct?
Correct. Our primary reason for doing it is to make sure that we've got a really high-functioning, ambitious public service that's actually building a cadre of talent within it. We think that is better achieved by people being in the office environment as a first port of call. Of course, as I said, by agreement, there'll be arrangements around flexible working and family extenuating circumstances, all that good stuff. But the reality is, we want to see more productivity out of the public service. We want to see more talent development. We want to see more communication, more ideation, more innovation, more creativity about how we solve some of the big challenges that we've got in front of us. And that's the reason for bringing people together. And I don't think that's what you're seeing around the world, right, as well. It's not just us talking about this today. It's actually been a topic for big, large multinationals who are wrestling with the same challenges, other governments as well. And as I said, for a period, it's been 4 years since COVID. These were measures that were put in place, as temporary measures through the COVID period. And, it's difficult to sustain a culture when a large proportion, a third of your workforce may or may not be actually in the office environment. And so that's why we're saying, look, we want it to be, start there. It's not an entitlement. It is actually about an agreement that you can make. But actually we want to improve the performance of the public service, and we think this is a part of it.
Do you think politicians should be here at Parliament more often, and those MPs who are just list-based, who don't have electorates, should they be at Parliament in particular?
Well, I'll just say to you, if you think that the only responsibility of a politician is to be in Wellington, that's a problem. That's a beltway view of the world. I just say to you, we've got a big responsibility out there to make sure we're serving our constituents and our electorates. We've got responsibility to engage with stakeholders, to make sure we're developing and building policy. We've got to make sure that we obviously are doing our job as parliamentarians here in Parliament. And obviously, most importantly, we've obviously got commitments around our people out there in the regions as well. So, and getting out and about. So, I consider myself working 7 days a week. That's why I get up at 4:30 every morning, 7 days a week to go to work. And that requires me to work here in Wellington, requires me to work in Auckland, requires me to work all around the country.
Will you both be publicly available Monday to Friday, including media interviews?
Well, the great thing is,
I already am, Jenna.
Yeah. We're available 24/7.
Mondays I'm on Radio New Zealand and News Talk ZB. Tuesday, Wednesdays and Thursdays I do a house run. Most Fridays someone puts an inquiry to me.
Do you know in the last 14 days I think I've been available except for 3 days to different media.
Podcast this week?
Well, it depends on... we have to weigh up a lot of podcasts, and there's a lot of high-ranking podcasts out there, and I'm not sure where Tova's one stands, to be honest. But
thank you for accepting the
give it some thought.
invitation.
All right, thanks, team.